What is the goal people have in life? To find meaning, whatever that perception is for them. Let's take a step back in time to 1967, where the minds of the youth turned to this question as the problems of industrialization, consumerism, war, and small-town life arose rapidly. How did this questioning of the unknown affect the lifestyle and moral values of these hipsters, and turn into a countercultural movement that rejected the morals of mainstream American life? The first hipsters that longed for more and started this movement were of the baby boom era in the 50s. The end of World War II causing America to become the wealthiest country in the world. Many families were well off, but the youth of this generation were sparked with the ever-growing anxiety and questioning for drafting for Vietnam, their comfortable, plain life, in a material-based society. They longed for more, and to find themselves in a more free, spiritual nature without limitations. Where they came from, their life was already decided for them by parents and norms of high school, college, and a white picket fence with children. With the perspective of Timothy Leary and his words, turn on, tune in, drop out. The first youth of this movement rejected the belief of the typical American dream and abandoned home to seek out love and community in San Francisco, known for diversity. In his book, The Doors of Perception of Heaven and Hell, Aldous Huxley states, in a world where education is predominantly verbal, highly educated people find it all but impossible to pay serious attention to anything but words and notions. There is always money for, there are always doctrines and the learned foolery of research into what? For scholars, it's the all-important problem. Who influenced whom to say what when? Even in this age of technology, the verbal humanities are honored. The non-verbal humanities? The arts of being directly aware of the given facts of our existence are almost completely ignored. People ranging from 13 to around 25 lived in Golden Gate Park, forming a new mindset and way of thinking containing the ideals of peace, love, connection with nature, community, and the dissolvement of money. A large group that advocated for these ideas, called Diggers, were a community of activists and theater actors, operating from 1966 to 68. This group was nuanced from what you originally think is hippies, but portrayed the overall values of this time accurately. Actors portrayed a life without the dictation of money and capitalism, believing if they were acting it out, it was true. And it was. They refused to use money for any needs, believing the natural world already provided what they needed. For resources, they opened numerous free stores which offered discarded but usable items, free for the giving and taking.
Everything came into the free store. Everything.
The Diggers provided a free food service in the panhandle of Golden Gate Park and Haight-Ashbury every day, feeding about 100 people, which grew to much, much more over time. On December 17th, 1966, the Diggers held an event called The Death of Money, in which they dressed in animal masks and carried a large coffin full of fake money down Haight Street, singing songs and inviting brokers to forget their work and join the life of freedom by eliminating the worth of money, work, and the stress of violence. They could focus on what really mattered to them. Joel Selvin reflects in an article on the use of drugs in this era. The awakening of a new generation had a lot to do with new inventions in drugs, the most popular of which was marijuana and LSD. This caused a viewpoint of equality in everyone and everything, showing the culture of connection with nature, black rights and women movements, and new music that questioned the reality of the world they lived in. John F. Shelley, the mayor of San Francisco, and most of the general population had preconceived ideas on this drug. On October 6, 1966, LSD became illegal. In protest, they held a love pageant rally. "Without confrontation," said an American poet, Alan Cohan, "we want to create a celebration of innocence. We were not guilty of using illegal substances. We were celebrating transcendental consciousness, the beauty of the universe, the beauty of being." With these new hipsters, or hippies for short, their unusual acts and words of their lifestyle and drug use spread across the country through the media. The reports were positive and negative, but mostly focused on drug use, not the moral movement they portrayed.
Turn on, tune in, drop out. For this crowd of hip young Americans, these 6 words are shorthand for an electrifying experience most of them know well, an experience called the trip. The trip is a drug-induced mental explosion that has changed their whole way of looking at the world. But for many other Americans, the 6 words stand for something else: controversy, crime, and terror. Turning on, tuning in, and dropping out is what happens to you when you take a dose of the strange new drug called LSD.
And by that summer, the scope of the new lifestyle expanded all across the U.S. And over 100,000 youth flocked the streets dancing, forming communities, doing drugs, and preaching words of nonviolence. Music was a huge part of the change in moral values and lifestyle of this movement. The Beatles, Rolling Stones, and Grateful Dead were some of the most influential music groups that reflected the countercultural beliefs. And yes, I'm playing John Denver, but that's because I freaking love him, and his music was relevant at that time period, so deal with it. Anyway, in a study of subcultures and sociology on deadheads, Grinnell College states, "Deadheads often speak of being attracted to deadhead culture because the community is peaceful. Values are similar, and they share resources, which offers a refreshing escape from the dominant culture's individualism, materialism, and competition." The subculture shows several different important phenomena in the sociological study of resistance. In particular, they show how subcultures both challenge and resist the dominant culture. He argues that deadheads negotiate their identity between mainstream lifestyles and subversive subcultures by taking elements from each to construct a lifestyle that fits their unique needs.
You can solve any problem. You can go anywhere. You can do anything you want with love. I do it all the time, every time I go somewhere. I mean, I got from Boulder, Colorado to here on $14 now.
A major event of this period that demonstrated the power of community was Woodstock. In 1969, it was a music festival with the motto, 3 days of peace and music. It was held on Max Yeager's dairy farm, and days before the event, organizers scrambled to get grounds ready. There were not enough toilets, medical facilities, food, or water. The whole event was chaotic from the beginning to end. So many people flooded into festival grounds that the promoters had to stop checking tickets just to make sure the concert was free, because they were too overwhelmed. But somehow, the whole community came together to bring necessities to the overcrowded event and make the event the iconic symbol we know it as today.
This is the largest group of people ever assembled in one place. The important thing that you've proven to the world is that 500,000 kids, and I call you kids because I have children older than you are, 500,000 young people can get together and have 3 days of fun and music. and have nothing but fun and music. And I God bless you for it.
Life is life. If you're living it the way you want with contentment and harmony, then it is a life of fulfillment. I see that lifestyle of a free spirit and detachment from normality in my sister, who's been hopping train cars and exploring life on the edge for a few years now. I've come to the realization that life is what you make it. And no matter where you are, or what you're doing, or who you're with, you have the power to live your life with purpose. Question your moral values, and especially those of the society you are part of. Turn on, tune in, drop out.